الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيد الخلق أجمعين محمد بن عبد الله الصادق الأمين أما بعد. Normalization. Normalization is trending now in the news. So what does it mean, normalization? I think normalization is a good term to use between the legal countries to normalize the relationship between two or more of countries. But in the case of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and the normalization between Arab and Israeli as countries, it is something different. It is kind of colonization of minds. When you agree to normalize the relationship between an illegal entity and your country, this means you agree on all violation by this country against the people of Palestine. When some Arab countries go to normalize the relationship, they give Israel a white card that it is good and doing well against the Palestinian people, and Israel itself used this normalization and these accords to go more and more in violating the Palestinian rights. Why some Arab countries go for normalization? I believe they want to protect themselves from their people and they want to be on their chairs for the longest time they can. So they are keen to have good relationship with Israel and United States of America through strengthen the relationship with Israel as a base of America in the Middle East. And this is what Biden himself said, if we don't have Israel, we will create Israel in the Middle East. And normalization affected Baytul Maqdis badly, especially Masjidil Aqsa al-Mubarak, because when the United Arab Emirates and the Zionist entity of Israel and the United States of America signed what they called Abraham Accords, they agreed to redefine Masjidil Aqsa al-Mubarak as just the small place of Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak, which is Al-Qibli Mosque, and they said all Muslims can come and visit Al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak, and they neglect the true definition of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak, which is the whole area surrounded by the wall equals 144,000 square meters, which means it is an introduction to implement the division of Masjid al-Aqsa and the partition of Masjid al-Aqsa as Israel planned, and as Israel every day announced they are willing to divide Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak between the Jews and the Muslims. When they agreed to define Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak as the Al-Qibli Mosque only, and the Muslim have the rights to visit and to pray in this mosque only, this means they give the right to the Israelis and the extremists to go on their plan to divide Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. It is clear after the signing of the normalization accords between some Arab countries and Israel became more brutal and more aggressive against the Palestinian rights. And now we can ask how many Palestinian people were killed by Israeli soldiers after they signed the accords and they established the relationship with the Israelis. So I believe normalization is against the right of the Palestinian people, and it will give Israel a lot of excuses to go more brutal against the Palestinian rights and against the Palestinian land, against the Palestinian daily life, and everything will become more and more difficult against the Palestinians.